All right, so I'm on the farm today and I'm fooling around with this John Deere 335 round baler. And one of the issues I've encountered is that plug right there is supposed to have a dipstick on it, and then that'll tell me how much gear lube is in this aluminum case. And I had a heck of a time trying to get this thing loose. It's loose now, and I had soaked it with PB Blaster, and finally I went with my old standby, and I used some MAP gas on it, and then I used candle wax. I had some wax. And what happens is, if you're not familiar with this technique, you heat a bolt or a nut or something like that, and what happens is, when you take the heat off, if you put wax on it, it'll melt, and as it puddles, as that nut or bolt, whatever you're heating, cools, the capillary action will draw it in, and a lot of times it'll just free up the threads. And that's exactly what's happened here. And I got some hydraulic lines. I got a rag and just soaked it in water so that I wouldn't burn these hydraulic hoses right here. But let's pull this thing out and wipe it down. It's hard to get this area clean, but let's just pull this thing out and see what I got. Hopefully it's not so hot now to the touch. But there's supposed to be a dipstick on the other side. And daggone, there is. So there's a notch right there. And according to the manual, the oil is supposed to be up to that notch. And it's definitely on there. So I'll assess what I got, but I thought I'd show you what I've been up against. And this is a vent right here. I took it loose and the vent was plugged, so I got it unplugged. And so the only thing I got left after this is I got a grease zerk on one of the U-joints here. And then I'll be ready to fire this thing up. I've got it greased, new string. I think I've got the twine knife worked out down there. But let me fool around with this a little bit and I'll come back. Wax and MAP gas. I don't know how many times I've used that with success. They don't teach you that in hotshot engineering school. Alright, so I got this plug back in here, and I've got it hand tight. I didn't King Kong the thing, putting it back together. And there's a couple things that are encouraging from seeing this. Number one, the oil was at level. The second thing was the oil was very clean. And then the third thing it tells me is I don't have some seals that are bad, that the oil would have, leaked out. And so I'm very pleased. The gearbox on this thing is holding oil, and it's at level, and it's clean. All right, so I think I got this thing. I've got the twine routed, I believe, correctly. It's pulling a little hard, so I actually pulled just a handful of twine through it. Just if nothing else, just to kind of shine up some of these surfaces. Whether or not I really accomplished that remains to be seen, but I'm not sure that twine, maybe it'll pull, maybe the bale will pull it. If you got one of these balers, I'd be curious. I don't recall seeing a attention that needs to be on here, but you know, there's some rusty surfaces. And anyway, what I'm gonna do now is I've got my hydraulic lines hooked up. I don't know if that's how I want them hooked up. The way I want it to work is on the twine arm. I want to push down on my remote to make it extend, and then I want to pull it back towards me incrementally to get it to you know, for it to wrap. So let me get this thing started and see if I can actually get that twine arm to pass through the knife and come around to this other side. And I'll also try to open the gate, and I'll also run the belt some. This is loose yet. I've got a U-joint right here and a grease circuit I can't get to. It needs to come up on the top side, and I can't spin this thing one way or the other. So let me do that, and then I'll get all that tightened up and I'll come back. If you remember in one of my other videos, this lever down here, I pushed it to disengage the PTO. Now I want to pull it so it'll work when I throw the switch inside. It'll grind just a touch. That's all there is. I'll come back. So the issue I had with this twine arm and the knife is when this twine arm would move forward, this knife would not retract, and this arm goes between that anvil and when this pivots straight up. And I think it's working. Let me try to put the camera on it, and I'll video it. So I think I got that worked out, and you can kind of see the gap there. And of course in the video it should show the gap. So the next thing up is turning the PTO on and taking a look at my chains over here, and then raising and lowering this thing. So that's all good. That chain right there probably needs a little bit of tightening. I'll have to keep my eye on that. I'm not quite sure what to make of that gap. Maybe it's has no bearing on anything, but you can see a guide right there. There's a guide that actually keeps these belts aligned, but these belts probably need to be replaced. They probably need to be taken off and trimmed to size. I was going to do that, but I decided that I just like to run it. I got a heat gun somewhere I want to put on these bearings. These bearings like that one and that one. And there's a few other ones around. It all seems to be working as it should. I don't think it'll hurt anything to leave these doors open and raise that gate. Now on the Model 330, the manual says specifically to stop the PTO when you eject, but on the 335 it's silent on that. I don't think you have to stop the PTO on this one, and certainly the later John Deere balers you don't have to stop the PTO, which that would be a real pain in the buttocks. So let me raise that gate and let's see what we got. So the PTO stays on, but there's enough slack in the belt that they cut off. All right, let me close this thing. So the gate's closed, and it is made the home position. I didn't hear like a loud clunk when it hit the home position, but evidently there's enough slack, at least for now, that when you raise the belt, when you raise the back, you know, the belts they stop on their own. We'll see when I'm actually baling hay. So this is kind of where I'm going to leave it. I'm going to kind of take a picture of the valves, the way I got them hooked up, so I'll know how to hook them up next time. At least empty, the baler seems to be working as it should. I'll have to tie up those hydraulic hoses some. So that's kind of the video, the mighty Massey Ferguson 1105. And the John Deere 335. I guess now we got to get some favorable weather and we're ready to start baling a little bit of hay. If I can get some loose hay going, I might try to make a bale, but I just soon cut a little bit of hay and try to run it through there. So that's it for the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Maybe the next one we're putting some hay through this thing for real. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hit the like button, subscribe. We'll talk to you later.